everybody. Welcome to another episode of Alta Call MAFS. Today is a MAFS Catch Up episode where I catch up with past participants from Married at First Sight. My guest today is from season 11 of Married at First Sight, which was set in New Orleans and they filmed during the pandemic. He was married to Christina, chose to get a divorce on decision day. And as you may guess, my guest is Henry Rodriguez. Hi, Henry. How are you?
Hey, I am doing well. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate it. So, what's going on? I ask everyone who comes in, starting with an update. How are you? What's happening? What's new? What's the same?
So I have been dating my girlfriend Kayla for a
Okay.
bit now, so it's been a minute. So
Okay.
we're still together and doing well. And then still working. I'm actually still working at the same place I was then, but I'm in
Okay.
a different position now as a
Okay.
nutrition recruiter, which has involved a lot more travel this past year. So that's been fun. And I live in a bigger space now. I'm still renting, but it's not like a little closet like I was in back then.
Yeah, it's been, what is it, 5 years
Yeah, I think time
since
flies, but
it
yeah, it was
does.
pandemic. That was 2020, so yeah,
Yeah.
5 years. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. I mean, you just mentioned travel, so that means you've been other places besides Northern Virginia.
yeah.
So,
That was. I don't know why I said that. Probably because I was jet lagged and had some mezcal. But that wasn't the only place I traveled. But there's no doubt I've traveled a lot more in recent years than up to that point. But yeah, that made it seem like Northern Virginia was like the only place I've been, and that was not the case. I've been to plenty more places, but is what.
I mean, we're gonna get into what is actual and what is like for
Yeah.
their show. But while we're on there, like, what has been your favorite place to travel to most recently or in ever?
Well, I mean, by far. So I actually, so in regards to travel,
Yeah.
I had to get a passport for the show because
Okay.
we were going to Mexico.
Yeah.
But a couple years ago, like Kayla and I went to Italy, and
Hmm.
that's by far like the. I mean, it was like we
Yeah.
did Florence and Lake Como and Venice, and it was just we were there for 2 weeks, and it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, that by far is the best. In the States, I recently went to for work, and I made a little vacay out of it, and went to San Diego,
Okay.
and that was by far probably my favorite place in the state
Okay.
to travel.
Oh, nice. I've never been to San Diego, but just even based on the season, it's so pretty. Like
It
every
is,
time it
yeah,
was.
it is gorgeous. Actually, we couldn't connect, but Ben from that season was hitting me
Mhm.
up, and he made some recommendations. We went to a couple of restaurants he suggested. Wanted to meet him in person, but it was just nonstop, and we couldn't link up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, San Diego, like I can't suggest it enough.
Okay, awesome. I said I was going to do this. I used to have a co-host on the podcast, and you were one of her favorites. So I told her I was going to give her you a shout out for her.
That's very
And
nice.
it's so sad that she wasn't here to talk with you. But okay, when we were introduced to you, Henry, in your intro package, part of what you said was my lack of eye contact and my
Yeah,
low confidence doesn't help me in dating.
yeah.
Did you say those words, or did they say they gather that and say, "Okay, say this"? Is this how you wanted to introduce yourself to us?
I I mean, like my memory is kind of shoddy of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, I am more than confident that's not all I said.
No,
I
you
mean,
said more, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. You film. I'm talking for hours, and you say a bunch of things, and they do sometimes kind of lead you to say like certain things, maybe for like I'll say for a narrative or whatever you want to
Yeah.
say. But I certainly said or mentioned the eye contact issue and lack of confidence. But I definitely said more than that. There's no doubt about that. But they kind of splice it however they want.
Okay. So let's go back. You did share with us that you had heart surgeries a few
Mhm.
years before you did this. How much of that did that play in you signing up for MAFS? Or did that play anything at all? Or they're two separate things or intertwined?
No, I mean the heart surgery was that was I just made 10. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
At that point, it was like 5 years ago. but I wouldn't say it played a big decision. I mean, I think in general in my life it plays a
Yeah.
decision in certain things, if that makes sense. Because like
Mhm.
I don't know, I'm just very grateful for it. I mean, it was something
Mhm.
that like it was like it was an issue that was kind of accidentally discovered.
Yeah.
I certainly could have or would have had like a serious heart attack, and who knows, what that outcome of that would have been. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I really thought about it, but it certainly plays a factor, like in my decision making, just in general.
Okay. Just in terms of like grabbing like life is short, carpe
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
diem
No,
type.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, ding, ding. Yeah, just like in regards to, yeah. I mean, like I value life. I value my time.
Yeah.
If for those that follow me on Instagram, I'm pretty active. I live a
Mhm.
fulfilling life. Like I don't, I do travel more now, but I try to do things. I try
Yeah.
to enjoy the city I live in, and just enjoy life. Like enjoy it while I can. So yeah, it
Yeah.
played a factor in that aspect.
Okay. So walk us through the process of signing up for MAFS. How did you sign up, or were you recruited, or what was your mindset and like, you know what, I'm gonna be on TV? Yeah, that's fine. What
Yeah.
was that like for you?
The TV part was like probably the most intimidating, the least intimidating part. If you
Yeah.
could not tell, I was definitely a little shy, but no. So I got a call one day. I was working. It was during the work week. I was
Mhm.
working on site at a hospital, and I shared an office with my friend slash colleague Courtney at
Mhm.
that time. And
Mhm.
anyway, no. So they called and said that someone referred me. I still have no idea who it is that supposedly referred me, but
Okay.
but yeah, someone introduced themselves as a casting agent. They had a conversation with me. I wasn't really familiar with the show. I hadn't heard of it at all,
Mhm. Okay.
but they just kind of explained the show and next steps and what the process would kind of look like, and told me to mull it over. Then I walked back into the office, and I remember telling Courtney, I was like, I got this crazy phone call. Some casting agent from on a production team from Married at First Sight just called. And she goes,
Mhm.
"Oh my God, Married at First Sight! My mom watches that show." Like, and we whatever. I just looked it up, and that was really it. Like, I just kind of gave it some thought and educated myself as best I could. I read a lot about successful couples and
Mhm.
opposite, and I sped watched a number of episodes, and yeah, and the rest is kind of history.
So when you sped watch, who did any couple stand out to you? Was there any couple you liked at the time, or
Uh, I mean, I really just like I remember Courtney kind of picked out some seasons and looked at it. I'm trying
okay.
to think. I remember like I know like Jeff D and Shanice was a kind of
Okay.
popular couple that kept coming. Jamie and Doug was
And Doug,
like
yeah.
the
Okay.
poster. I
Yeah.
didn't watch their season, but like they were just like kind of seemed to be like the poster couple for a lot of stuff I was looking at. But
Okay.
and I remember Jamie and Beth. Um, Seemed
Yes,
to be
from
like a
season 9.
popular couple that just kept coming up. So
Mhm.
yeah, there were some couples that definitely got some more attention in the algorithm, but yeah, just kind of like I said, watched random episodes and just to get an idea of what it was.
Okay. So you just decided, okay, I'll just go ahead. The worst that could happen is I don't find love, or the best that happen I will.
So I really went back and forth on it.
Mhm.
I talked a lot about it with my brother, a lot about it with friends and family,
Mhm.
and honestly, yeah, it was kind of like I just looked at it like it was a once in a lifetime opportunity,
Yeah.
um, and I was like, I did the dating apps for a long time, obviously with no success.
Mhm.
New Orleans is a small city, and I was
Mhm.
just like, yeah, like why not? Like give this a go because I was like, if I don't do it, I'm gonna regret it and always ask what if, and if I do
Yeah.
it, then at least I know I gave it a shot.
Okay. That's good. Looking back at that time, do you think you were ready for marriage?
I yeah, so I do. I think if I would have, I think if it would have been a better match,
Yeah.
I like absolutely. Or I mean, I definitely. I mean, like my mindset was. I mean, I kept on saying this to friends, and I said I don't know how much they showed on. I kind of it kind of gets blurry what I actually said
Mhm.
they showed. But I know a number of times I was like, yeah, like what a great story it would be if
Yeah.
like Woody and Amani is the perfect example.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
like Brianna and Vincent, or what's there? I think it's Jessica and Austin
Austin,
from
yeah.
from like
DC.
yeah,
Mhm.
from DC. Like, those are like the like that's what everyone strives for or
Yeah.
wants, like when they do it. And but
Yeah.
the unfortunate reality is that's likely not going to be the case. But you take the chance that it is going to be the case. But I do think if it was the right match, yeah, like I do think I would have been ready. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. Okay. I have a question because a pet peeve of mine, I always say it on the episodes, is when someone comes on a dating show and they say, I'm guarded, it takes me a while to be open. And I
Yeah.
think you said that.
Uh,
So, since I have someone, in front of me who is that way, can you walk me into how you think when you sign up for a show like that, how do you think it plays out? Or from your perspective, how does that work being guarded or being slow to open up? How do you think it works on a dating show? Or do you think if it was absolutely your match, it totally wouldn't have mattered at all?
I, I I'm not just saying this as a cop out. Like I think if it would have been a better match, then people would have saw like a much different version of me. Like I was just um I don't know. I mean, we obviously just kind of struggled from the
Yeah.
beginning, and then you add like cameras on top of that, and
Mhm.
they're asking questions that are just not fun questions to you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
to deal with,
Over and
especially
over.
on camera. It just like I mean, like my girlfriend now, or like I mean, if it was a better match, like you would like I would have been way more open. My personality would have come out a lot
Yeah.
more. And don't get me wrong, editing played a big part. They made it seem like I couldn't
Mhm.
put two sentences, together back to back, but
Mhm.
because they just cut out a lot of what I said. But still, with the right person, it would have been a much different, much more, yeah, just
Yeah.
a much different experience.
So I think when we're on our couches and as viewers, we're just like, but they know what they signed up for. There's going to
Yeah.
be cameras. So from your point of view, what was the thing that was so jarring because you don't know. You don't know what to expect. You've never done it before. What was the thing that you couldn't anticipate and then it happened, you're like, "Oh my god, what have I gotten myself into?" In terms of the cameras.
Yeah, I think the that's a great question. I so when you first start going through the process, you do like a lot of filming beforehand,
Mhm.
like before they find a match for you.
Match it.
So
Mhm.
you kind of get a feel for what it's like. And honestly, for me, it's just I'll use this as an example.
Okay.
Like I had some friends, a number of friends that filmed with me,
Mhm.
and especially for like group sessions, like they'd be like, "Hey, invite a couple of friends to do, for this or
Mhm.
that activity." I'd be
Mhm.
like, "Yeah," and they would be like so excited to do it, and then they would all, and I'm like, "It's not that exciting." Like they're gonna put a microphone on you, and it's just there's gonna be like a lot of waiting, and and it's just not what you think it is. And
Yeah.
like every single time, they would all look at it as exciting, and then they would sign up, and then they'd get the mics put on them, and then they'd all get nervous all of a sudden because they're mic'd up, and then the cameras would come on, and then at some point someone's battery would die, and they would have to like
Um,
replace the batteries, and then they'd be like, hold that conversation, okay, start backward. You get it's just not
yeah.
like I don't know if that answers your question, but it's
Yeah.
just not very natural, and
Yeah.
there's just a lot of interruptions along the way, and you just kind of have to constantly like pause and restart again.
Yeah. I've spoken to a number of people and I think they say that it just gets exhausting and then
Yeah,
you're
and
saying the same things
it's
over
just
and
a
over
long
again.
it's just a long day. It's
Yeah.
like you're always like, how is this going to take 5 hours? And it's like, oh, okay, because like there's just a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah. And you mentioned your friends. I was going to ask because when you told them that you were matched, they genuinely looked surprised. Are they just good actors? Or, I mean, you have to give your friends a heads up, right? What they're
Yeah,
coming to film.
yeah. So my friend Craig definitely knew. My friend Kyle, I just invited him, and like he wasn't as like he didn't really know. I think he
Yeah.
was picking up on it, but because he was like, why, and whatever. But Craig definitely know. Craig's just a good actor.
Okay, because we was like, "You were mic'd up," and people were like, "What?" And they were like, they
Yeah,
had to have known
yeah.
that
No,
he was good.
I told Kyle. He definitely knew I was going through the process, and I just told him that we were gonna go get drinks at this bar that they told us to meet up at and just have a conversation about it. But
Okay.
like I said, Craig, yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so previously in the early parts of maths, I call them old era and new era maths. But in old era, they used to give you guys like titles or descriptors, and yours was like the reserved
There we
gentleman.
go.
Did they tell you ahead of time, or do you find out with the rest of us like, oh, this is what we are?
No, that is. I remember a lot of us kind of joking about that, wondering what our nicknames were going to be. No, they
Yeah.
don't give you a heads up. You don't. You have no say in that. That's like whatever they give you, it is what it is. So I suppose it could have been worse. So I'll take it.
Do you get to watch the episode before rewatch? Like, do they send you screeners, or do you just
No,
watch at the same time as? Oh gosh.
no. You
Okay.
so you no, you do not at all get to watch any episodes except for. I assume you're familiar with the after
After
party.
party. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you're asked to do one of those while you're filming that, they will show you scenes of like whatever that episode's going to be. But
Yeah.
legit, you don't even get to see it before after party. You see it like while you're doing after party. But that's like the closest you get, and those are really just like blips. Those are like just short scenes. So that's all you get.
That is crazy. And sometimes I do believe like in after party for some scenes, I think like you guys even get something different from what we see, I believe. But did you enjoy filming after party? Like did you like the flying and reliving everything and pretending that you don't know what happens?
Honestly, yeah, so I'm trying to think. So during if I'm I remember so yeah, I
Mm,
did like filming it because it was just I really liked hanging out with like Woody. I mean
yeah.
really we all got on pretty well.
Mhm.
So it was always just fun to kind of like catch up. I just remember kind of being frustrated because when you're filming an after party, that was like right when the season started. And
Yeah.
I remember just being unhappy of
Yeah. How?
kind of like my edit and just
Yeah.
kind of being made to look like I was
Yeah.
like more awkward and stuff than what I was. So that was kind of frustrating. But as far as filming it, yeah, it was fun. I mean, like I said, it was always fun to kind of hang out with the other couples and kind of relive their moments.
I was trying to remember how you guys filmed it. If it was during the pandemic, was it remote? Was it like a Zoom thing, or were you guys in person?
No, no, yeah, we were in person. So
You were in
there
person.
was,
Okay.
yeah. So for some of them, I remember going back to the apartment where we were all living. They'd pick someone's space and film in there, and then for some of it, there was like a hotel you met at to film. Yeah, yeah, but it
Okay.
was in person.
Okay. So we met your family during the show. I don't know again if it's editing, but was it a hard sell to them that you were going to do this show?
Uh, so I so when I was going through the experience early on, I constantly my brother lives in Nova in Northern
Yeah.
Virginia.
Hmm.
So I was constantly talking to him about it, but I didn't tell him. I did not tell my parents until I was going through the callback sessions,
Yeah.
and so like I don't know if you know this, but if memory serves me correct, it's like three callback sessions, and it dwindles down each time.
Okay.
The first callback session is the biggest group. Then if you get invited, and so forth. And I remember getting invited to the final callback session where it was just me and I think six or seven other guys, and I was
Okay.
like, "Oh my god, this is
That's happening.
becoming real." And so I remember that night I drove to my parents' place. It's like a 20-minute drive. That
Hmm.
my dad was working, and I was like, "Let me talk to my mom first, make sure she's okay with this, and then see what she thinks my dad's opinion is going to be."
Yeah.
And yeah, no, my mom was like, my mom didn't think I was. I remember when I showed up, she was like, "Did you get someone pregnant? Like, what's going on?" And I said, "No." I said, "I just have to talk to you." And she didn't think I was serious, but she was like more than excited. She was like, "Oh, I could finally potentially have a daughter-in-law." And then she's like, "If your dad has any issues, I'll set them straight." But my dad was fine with it too.
Okay. All right. So, what was the worst that you thought would happen in this scenario? Besides, I mean, getting divorced is an easy answer, but what was your biggest fear going into this?
I'll say two things. My leading, and I guess this is probably a fear of a lot of people who do it, but especially in New Orleans, my biggest fear going into it was
Mhm.
that it was going to be someone that I either knew or someone that I had matched with before, and it wasn't like
Yeah.
a good experience. And then I'd say besides that, just in general, I was just afraid that it would be like a really bad, toxic kind. I mean, like, I don't think that would happen with me because I'm pretty like laid back and
Yeah.
like wouldn't in most scenarios wouldn't let it get to that point. But just kind of like it would just be really bad
Yeah.
and just ugly. But it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't. It wasn't that.
Yeah. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable were you at the bachelor party?
Yeah, there were moments. I'd say a solid 8. There were not the whole time, but there were moments when I was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it was the first time we actually saw like strippers on maps and things,
Yeah,
and we were
yeah,
like, "Is this Lifetime? Like, wow, what
yeah.
is happening right now?"
The strippers came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that, and then I remember Woody was like, he was like, "Come on," like he's like, "Come on, Henry," like, and
Yeah,
I remember he and I were kind of like, got behind a couple of them, and I think I had a red beret hat on, but yeah, but it was uncomfortable at times.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, we don't have to get into it, but I know the whole incident happened with your friend,
Yeah,
and so yeah. Okay, so what did you tell the experts that you wanted? I assume they asked you physically. Did they ask you to show, I know for some people they said pictures of their
Mhm.
exes,
Yeah.
and did you show that? Did they ask for celebrity crushes, or walk us through that?
Yeah, they asked for you it sounds like you went through the process, yeah. Yeah, so all that, they asked for pictures of some of your exes or girls that you dated, they asked for celebrity crushes for sure. I don't remember. I know I definitely said Kate Beckinsale. I think I I'm more than positive I said Olivia Munn. I know Famke Janssen, I don't remember if I said her, but I said 4 or 5 celebrity
Yeah,
crushes. I sent them pictures of my ex. Like I, and I told them I was like, preferably
yeah,
petite. I mean,
yeah.
I'm like 5'9", 5'10".
Hmm.
So just I was like preferably petite. I'm not really like a stickler for hair color. Um,
Yeah,
but but I just told them like sophisticated. I prefer kind of like sophisticated, someone who like kind of has their stuff together as far as like not they don't necessarily have to be a professional, but kind of like just
just have a
like
path and
yeah,
a
yeah, has
career
a path
path and
or
be stable. Yeah.
yeah, like kind of like is like put together and kind of knows
Hmm.
what you're going, has a plan. Someone who's like responsible, someone
Hmm.
who's funny, and I remember saying this. I said someone who's funny or who at least can like take a joke, someone that's not so uptight. And so, like, I mean, someone who just who compliments me well, which I know is kind of hard to figure that out. But
Yeah.
no, you take like a bunch of like tests and you fill out a bunch of things. So I gave them a number of you know of kind
Of
of things.
criteria. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do it because I'm a viewer on the wedding day. I'm so nervous because I'm just like I can't even breathe. So I can't imagine how you must have felt on your wedding day. So you're standing there. I mean, they were happy to see you. I mean, her side are like, he's cute. This is a good job. you see her walking down the aisle, and your first reaction is what?
No, I mean, I wasn't like, I thought she was pretty. I'm
Hmm.
not going to sit here and say, like, I mean, like, she wasn't what I physically
Hmm.
had kind of
Hmm.
told them, because once again, and you know how they are. They
Yeah,
play up that I said petite, and
yeah,
she wasn't like big at all. She was just
was
taller,
tall.
and
Hmm.
yeah, and whatever. But that is fine. One of my long term ex girlfriends was a taller girl, so
Yeah,
it wasn't like so no, I wasn't. I was like, okay, like, yeah, like that. I thought she was pretty. I'm not going to sit here and say, but I think part of it is that as much as you go into it with an open mind and telling yourself to be open, it's like I think everyone kind of has in their head what they're like
yeah,
expecting or wanting. But no, I think for me, I was just like super nervous, and I was just like, and I was standing up there forever, and I think a lot
yeah.
of it was just like was nerves, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. And honestly, I didn't necessarily mean like it would have been something negative. It's just like because you're so nervous and you've been
Yeah,
waiting and you don't know what to expect, and
yeah,
finally all those works, those time of filling out the forms and all that, it's coming to
yeah,
fruition, and it's like, what
yeah.
was that feeling? Was it like, okay, we're finally here, we can move forward,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, and no, and that was. I mean, I was waiting up there like for a while, and as I'm sure all the grooms do, when they do the show, and I have a nervous twitch, which they absolutely showcased that,
yeah.
and yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think honestly, I do remember like, okay, thank God, I don't know who she is. I definitely remember having that thought, because I was really nervous, and I remember looking on her side and not recognizing like any of her friends, so I was like, that
Yeah.
was kind of like a good sign in that regard. But I do remember like the first thing was like, okay, like this isn't like a coworker, like, or
Yeah.
or an ex-girlfriend or something like that. So
Yeah, and that was a valid fear that you had because Amelia and Bennett had come across each other, and then I think Karen had seen Miles before or saw the picture, something like that. So,
yeah.
yeah, that was a valid fear that you had. Okay, so that happens, and I want to commend you for kissing your wife because another pet peeve I have is people saying, "Oh, you can't kiss. Oh, kiss my cheek. I don't know you. You're a
No,
stranger." But
no,
but you did. So,
no.
were you nervous about that?
Was she? I was a little. I think I was a little nervous in the sense of you just don't. I don't know. You just like naturally when couples get married and they know each other,
Yeah.
it's like they know. I mean, they have chemistry and they know each other.
Yeah.
They know if it's going to be like a really intimate kiss or a peck or awkward or whatever. I think it's just like you just don't know. And Christina did a great job of she kind of just grabbed me and she made it a much more comfortable
Couple.
like situation. She and I have a like I'm sure she could feel how kind of nervous and awkward I
Mhm.
was. So yeah, she definitely helped in that regard.
Okay. So, you're having your conversation. At the time, we did not know when you asked, where do you live? But we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the wedding now. Your friends pop up, and then we see real world alum and now Traders winner,
Yeah,
Trishelle. And I mean, we didn't get a warning, or I mean, not like they're gonna warn us, but some of us, old schoolers, we knew who Trishelle was, and we're like, oh, Henry's friends with Trishelle. But the way they had sold you to us, no one would ever think that you guys cross
yeah,
paths or were friends. So tell me about your friendship, how long you've known her, how you got her. Did you tell producers that you were friends with Trishelle,
yeah.
or
I did not tell
oh, okay.
producers I was friends with Trishelle.
Okay.
I I actually ran into Trishelle yesterday. Like legit was hanging out with her yesterday. I'm not as close with her now as I was at that time, but
Okay.
um yeah, I'll long story short, Trishelle and I matched on a date. I think it was
Okay.
Tinder. She made it very clear that she just moved down from well, whatever. She made it very clear she just moved back to New Orleans after dating somebody out of state for a long time, and she was
Mhm.
just looking for friends. And then she was like, and so we talked for a little bit, and she was like, "Hey, this is a random question, but do you happen to have like any girlfriends, or is it just guy friends?" I said, "Oh no, I have a group of friends that's pretty much
Yeah.
half and half, like half guys, half girls." And I was like, honestly, I think you would fit right in with the girls. I was like, I think they'll be right up your alley. And so she and I met for a drink, so we can make sure, or so she can make sure that I was normal. And then we invited my friends. And honestly, I'm not as close with her, but she is still best friends with those girls to
Yeah.
this day. Like they hang out all the time, and they're really close. So yeah,
Okay.
no, yeah, we hung out quite a bit.
Oh, that was nice. It was nice to see her pop up, but I guess the question for you is after watching it, because there was a lot of talk at the time, did you think your friends were a little mean at the
Yeah,
wedding?
yeah.
Okay.
I was aggravated. Yeah, speaking of, like, we spoke about the after party,
Yeah.
filming sessions not long ago.
Mhm.
So that was the first after party session that I filmed, was them showing me that clip. And Trishelle and Kristen certainly told me that, like,
Mhm.
they got drunk and like said some things, but yeah, when I saw it, I was just like really caught off guard. I was
Okay.
not happy about it.
Okay.
So I thought it was unfair, but yeah, no, clearly I was not thrilled with what they had to
Okay.
say.
Okay. Was Is there anything about your wedding day, any memory that stands out to you, any behind the scenes that we don't know about that you remember?
I I will say in my opinion, one kind of frustrating thing with the show and with the edit was I thought the wedding, I had a great night. I thought the night was great. It was a lot of fun. Her family and friends got along well with my. I was so nervous about that,
Yeah.
um, and and just everyone got along really well. And it's a long day. I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
every participant you've ever talked to I mean, it's such a long day, and they
Yeah.
just drag it out. And yeah, and it's exhausting, honestly. But I don't know, I mean, when we were all kind of hanging out together, everyone was getting along well, and it was fun. It really was.
Okay. Since you've never met your spouse, how do you guys choose your first dance song?
They just play it. I don't like. So I'll say this: they so you fill out paperwork of, like, they give you like this document that has like a bunch of questions and stuff
Mhm.
regarding like how you want the wedding to be, or your preference. And quite
Yeah.
frankly, I assume they just asked the groom to be nice. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they just, take whatever
Go
the
with
client
it.
says.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it'll be like there's different options for like the aesthetic, like more old school or more modern, and they ask you what kind of cake you want, and what kind of they ask you for some songs that you would like on the playlist. But as
Mhm.
far as the wedding song, I do like I actually don't recall seeing that on my questionnaire. So I'm wondering if that's just on the brides,
Oh, okay.
honestly, because I don't remember that being on there.
Okay. I think I'll ask future people
Yeah,
and
ask
see if
future
it's just
brides.
like
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay, so you guys were talking, I think at the sweetheart table or something, and she mentioned that she came out of a relationship 8 months prior.
Mhm.
Your reaction to that, was that before or after you had heard things about her previous relationship, or was that the first time? Did you hear it first from her that she just got out of a relationship 8 months before?
So that was the first time.
That was the first time that you had. But you seem to think that it was was it you that thought it was too soon? I wasn't sure. I can't remember what the reaction was, but is 8 months enough time? Do you think?
I Yeah, I mean, so if I'm remembering correctly, it was 8 months ago she got out of the relationship. Is that what it was?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that
No,
sounds
no,
like a
I
sufficient time.
remember. Yeah, yeah, I remember thinking it was a little soon, but no, I didn't. I didn't think it was. I remember thinking it was a little sooner than I expected her to say,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And also I just remember thinking that there was more I had to learn about it, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't necessarily think that's too soon, unless it's like, you know, like a multi-year relationship and you're just getting out of it 8 months
And
ago. Then I think that it would be too soon.
I think that's what it was. It was like a long-term 5-year relationship, but then she got
Yeah,
out of it 8 months before.
that's
Because I was gonna ask, because something I always ask and grapple with is what is the etiquette before you get married at first sight? How long is too long? Is 6 months too soon? Because we've had people who are engaged 6 months prior and they're here. For me, that's too soon. For someone else, they're like, it's fine.
yeah.
But yeah,
No, no, I just think that there's a lot of factors. Yeah. I was confused in a different situation. Yes,
yeah,
I
okay.
do remember being caught off guard and thinking that I was kind of like, okay, that is a little quick to get out of a long term relationship and then do this. But once again, I think that there are a lot of factors that kind of play into things. And then as far as the etiquette goes, yeah, that's a great question because I definitely struggled with that. Like I wasn't coming out of anything serious for sure
Hmm.
leading into it, but I do remember being like, okay, am I a bad person if I go on a date? Am I a bad person if if I do something kind of
Yeah,
physical with someone?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going on a date. It was a week or so. I had a good idea that I was going to get matched, but
Hmm.
it was definitely not official that I
Yeah,
was getting matched. And I remember going on a date a good maybe a week before they officially
yeah.
told me I was matched, and it was a terrible date. And then I remember thinking, okay, this is a sign that I need to do this because
Absolutely.
it was awful.
Yeah, my maths etiquette is once you start the process, to me, I
Okay,
think it's time to start because it's practice. What if you do get picked? And it's not a long time, right? From when you're selected to when you're matched. It's about 2 months.
yeah, maybe two
Yeah.
months. Yeah,
It's okay. It's a good time to self-reflect, not date. And then
yeah.
if you don't get picked, you go right back to business. So
Yeah, no, and that's completely fair because then it gets into like, what if you meet someone and
yeah.
and it goes well, and then how do you handle that? So yeah, I think that's a fair way to.
Yeah. How long into the marriage did things start to fall apart for you?
Uh, so when I was so I remember at the wedding there were a couple of moments. I'll say wedding night. There were a couple of moments of where I could tell she was like really frustrated and just kind of a bit impatient about certain things.
Mhm.
And I would, but my
Sorry, with you or with production?
no,
If
no, no,
just to
no,
clarify.
no, actually not with me,
Okay.
with
Just wanted to
production.
clarify that. Yes, okay.
Yeah, with production. And
Mhm.
in her defense, when I look back on it, and I'm just going to be honest, I was kind of like, was production kind of stoking the flames a little bit to get a reaction? Like I remember specifically, she lost her backpack
Mhm.
and then she couldn't find it, and it had a couple of things in there that she wanted, and then they told her that it was in a different van that was a few blocks away. They were actually filming Brett and Olivia's wedding simultaneously at a hotel
Okay.
that was not far away. Anyway, they were like,
Yeah.
our producer was like, I just got confirmation it's in so and so's van, but she was really upset about that. There were a couple other things
Yeah.
that happened, and I remember I was like, maybe these are pink flags, but also
Yeah.
it's a wedding night and it's a very stressful day, and it's a very big day,
Yeah.
and it's a very long day. So I
Mhm.
mean, I'm talking about when we were in a hotel. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning when some of that stuff was happening. So
Yeah.
I remember just giving some grace, but I had some concerns at that time, and I don't know when it started falling apart. I don't know. I guess at the honeymoon, honestly, I was just kind of
Mhm.
concerned that our personalities just weren't a match, and
Yeah.
not anything at all negative against like negative towards her, but more I could just tell. Okay, like we just had way different hobbies, and she was way more outgoing than I was. I'm not as like introverted as the show made me seem, but but you know what I
Yeah, you honestly don't have to explain because I think anyone could see that it was just not a match. Which brings me to my question where there was a lot of online chatter where it was, do you think you guys were set up for failure? Like just to be the the talk of the season because nothing I don't know what the similarities were personally. But do
yeah.
you think
So yeah, so I'm going to be honest. Like, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's so when I was doing a lot of digging into the show before, like when I got the
Mhm.
initial call,
Mhm.
yeah, you read about some of the train wreck
Yeah.
couples, and naturally the online chatter is about
Yeah.
whether or not it's intentional for drama's sake, and if
Mhm.
they do it on purpose, blah blah blah. And yeah, like when we were getting to know each other, once again, nothing. Again, we had absolutely nothing in common.
Mhm.
Not absolutely nothing, but we didn't have a lot in common.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's hard not to think like
Was it?
was this
Mhm.
intentional? Like what
Yeah.
was like are we just like were we just matched for the sake of drama and entertainment? And
Yeah.
yeah, that is. I mean, that question popped into my head like on a honeymoon.
Yeah. I will ask one thing though. She kept saying that she wanted someone to buy her flowers. The duration of your marriage, did you ever buy her flowers?
I got did I don't know. I'll be honest. I think I got her flowers on the final dinner. No, I don't think I did. I got flowers on the final dinner, but no, I'll be honest. I didn't. So I got her flowers obviously the day of the wedding. That was like part of the
Yeah.
gift that I sent her, and
Mhm.
then I'm more than positive I got flowers for her on the final dinner, which honestly was a nice dinner. I don't remember what the show showed, but we had a really good conversation, and like it was kind of like a nice, I don't know, a
Yeah.
nice goodbye of sorts because
A
we
farewell.
yeah, because we knew where what direction we were going, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay. Henry, you have to share your thought process when you drove to the storage unit. That makes all the lists of anything about maps. I don't know if it's the funniest list or the strangest list, but it makes the list. But
Yeah.
when you guys drove to the storage unit, you being, I don't know whether you were checked out or you were a nice guy, but what was that about and what were you thinking?
Yeah, I remember. So I just remember that I like I remember that I was just kind of confused on like where she lived because when we had a conversation
Yeah, at
during
the
the wedding,
wedding.
she mentioned
Mhm.
one area, and once again, I don't remember what they show and what they don't.
Business
But
district and downtown was what
yeah,
she
yeah,
said.
and then when we were together with a group of friends, she said another thing, and then I don't know, just some things weren't adding up, and that is like she's a flight attendant.
Yeah.
So it totally makes sense that I have a friend who's a flight attendant.
Mhm.
She lives in like an apartment, or her quote unquote apartment is like with three or four other people, but she's
Mhm.
barely ever there. So it's just like a way for her to have cheap rent,
Yeah.
and so she could fly around and stay at other places while she works. And I'm
Mhm.
assuming that that's what the situation was, but that's just not how it was explained. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think a little bit of my frustration with it was my least favorite thing not my least, but one of my least aspects of filming at that time was filming in my apartment because
It was
I lived in a smaller space, and quite frankly I had like a really aggravating landlord at that
yeah.
time. And I just felt, I don't know why. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it just felt so invasive when all the cameras were there, and I
Yeah.
just have in the back of my head, I know people are going to be judging my living space, whatever, but I kind of felt this is part of the process. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? This is what it is. And I think I was just kind of upset that for her we were going to a storage unit, and
Yeah.
I was like, man, if I knew we could go to a storage unit, I would have just did that.
Yeah.
That was a long answer, but that was kind of just my mindset, I guess.
No, it's fun. But you didn't seem to get mad about it per se,
No.
because I think we see people who are like, "Oh, that was a lie." You were just more like, I mean, I guess this is what it is, and you just rolled along with it. But I think you stored it as one of the things where whenever you came up with the pattern of dishonesty, it was on the list, but you didn't like fully react.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, you have to keep in mind, I mean, this is really early. When you watch the show, that's one kind of issue I have with the show is
Mhm.
it's so drawn out that by the
Yeah.
time that you watch the episode of the couples going to each other's place, it feels like they've been together for weeks, but in
Yeah.
reality, they've only been together for days. So, yeah, so it was really early on, and I was very much just I mean, we were still learning about each other, I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
I was more aggravated that I was like, man, had I known we could go, I could just tell them we're going to a storage unit. I would have just said that and not have cameras all in my place. But
Yeah.
but it was also, yeah, some things weren't adding up, but I wasn't overly aggravated because I like it was. I mean, we barely knew each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about quarantine. How did the producers sit you down? How did they tell you guys? And how does 8 weeks stretch out to 4 months? And where were you like, oh my God, why me? What I'm not putting words in your mouth, but what were you thinking?
And yeah, there's a lot of layers to that. I mean, honestly, it was just it. So yeah, filming stopped. I remember we were supposed to actually film at this bar slash restaurant that
Hmm.
I went to all the time. It was kind of a way to show Christina, yeah, this is one of my hangout spots, and whatever.
Hmm.
And I remember that day they were like, yeah, we're not going there. Like businesses are closing. They're issuing a stay at home for everybody. Blah blah blah. So yeah, it was just crazy. I mean, just dealing with the pandemic felt kind of scary, and going through, filming on a reality TV show where you married a stranger is also a really crazy situation. So it was just like a
Hmm.
crazy situation on top of a crazy situation, and there was just a lot of unknowns at that
Yeah.
time. It was just, how long were we pausing filming for? How long could we not go anywhere? How long? You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
there was just a lot of
Uncertainty.
uncertainty at that time. Yeah.
And you guys lived together the entire time you were paused filming? Or did you?
Yes, yeah. So we lived together. We still lived in the same apartment space.
Okay.
Honestly, for my job, I so before the pandemic, I would go into the office every day.
Hmm.
Luckily, I worked somewhere where we could just easily transition into remote like that. But
Hmm.
just to kind of get away from everything, I would
Yeah.
actually leave the apartment and go work at my apartment at my place, just to kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Decompress.
I mean, it was also like I'm still paying rent at this place, so I'm going to get a
Yeah.
piece of it out of it. But just to kind of get away for a little bit, like
Did
I'm
you did you tell them that's what you were doing, or did they think you were just going to work, or did you tell them you were going to your apartment
Christina
to
definitely
work?
knew I was going to my apartment. I can't
Okay.
remember what I think I told them I was going to. I honestly don't remember,
Okay.
but yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I told everybody I was going to the apartment.
Okay. The infamous fight, I mean, I know there were multiple, but the ones where it was in the kitchen and she was frustrated that she was carrying the conversations, and things are going down when we see the cameraman. We saw the cameraman and she was talking to them and you walked out. Did you understand her frustration? How it was played to us was that you were not even speaking to her unless she spoke to you and you were just responding. Were you checked out by then?
Yeah,
Or
no, a zillion percent. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Um, uh, like when I look back on it all, I, like I, I definitely I have no I wish no ill will towards
Yeah.
Christine. I I was definitely shut down. I tried articulating that a number of times, but yeah, I was just overwhelmed by everything going on. I mean, we weren't really like
Vibing.
just yeah, we weren't vibing, and you add a bunch of cameras around you in a situation where you're already uncomfortable, and yeah, like my I mean, the show definitely edited out a lot of my responses and questions, but there's no doubt that the conversation was not easy between us. It was just maybe I was a little checked out, but it was really more like I was just struggling and just kind of hoping it would get better. But yeah, no, I totally get why Christina was frustrated. I mean,
Did you at any point ask to leave?
they asked me to leave. No, no. They didn't really ask me to leave. They asked me if I wanted to. No, I did think about it, but but I just honestly I to go you go through a lot to
Huh?
you go through a lot to get matched and everything. And I was like, I'm gonna see it through to the end. Now, granted, I didn't know a pandemic was gonna interject.
Oh,
And
they asked you earlier.
no. So they asked me when they asked me, it was right when they asked me that, I remember this specifically. It was so filming paused for 8 weeks. And when we had gotten a new producer, and then she asked me if I still wanted to do it, like 2 weeks prior to us starting filming back up. So six
Okay.
weeks, six
Okay.
weeks into the pandemic, if that math
Okay.
you know makes sense. And then yeah, so they asked me around that time, and at that point, I was just like, no, I went through a lot to be here, and I'm just going to see it through to the end. I mean, yeah, did I have a good idea that I knew where we were going? Yeah, but I was like, I'm not going to throw the towel in. So
I am shocked.
yeah,
I would have thought I would have said no, thank you, bye.
yeah.
But
You're saying you would have back you would have
yes, I would have
yeah.
said it really looked painful, Henry. I will say, like just as a viewer, so and you
Uh,
seemed uncomfortable in it. So if they gave me an out,
yeah,
Godspeed, thank
yeah,
you.
but also I'm gonna say real quick, it
Yeah.
wasn't that. Okay, yeah, being on camera at times and dealing with some of the questions that they're forcing you to answer
Yeah.
and stuff like that was uncomfortable. And I'm not sitting here saying it was like all roses when the cameras were away, but Christina and I really, I mean, it was very much like a roommate situation. But
Mhm.
we watched a lot of things. I told Woody at one point, I was like, Christine and I probably do more than all of y'all. Like I remember going to I took her to, this was off camera, but I took her
Yeah.
to my favorite Vietnamese restaurant that I used to frequent a
Mhm.
bunch. Like she and I went to this Mexican place not far from
Yeah.
our apartment a handful of times. Well, I remember we went to this cool dive bar around the corner.
Mhm.
But and then, like I said, we watched like shows together, and we watched like different comedy, like stand up, like comedy
Mhm.
shows and whatnot. So it wasn't like when the cameras weren't there, it really wasn't all that bad. But yes, when the cameras were there, it was a bit uncomfortable. And I'm not saying my decision to stay honestly really makes sense or is the right decision, but it was just you put in a lot of work to get to
Mhm.
that point. And I guess that there's a part of me that just thought like I'm not you know, like I'm not gonna throw it all away.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like we were almost at the end.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm just gonna stick it through.
Mama ain't raised no quitter. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and then once again, I'm not saying that makes sense or that that's the right decision, but it
no,
was
I
my
mean it's
decision.
fine. Sometimes, you just go with what you felt was right at that time, and that's
Yeah,
what you did. It wasn't like, the worst thing. it's not pretty, but we have to talk about the allegations when Christina said that she got a text that said
Mhm.
that you were having an affair with a guy. And how was it's not how was that for you? That wasn't nice. It wasn't a pretty situation. But did
Yeah.
you ever think there was a text message? Because you never saw it, right?
Yeah. So honestly, no. So I'm just going to be straight up with my assessment of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that night, I was scheduled to. So we would obviously film
Mhm.
like individual sessions
Mhm.
sometimes where production comes or sometimes an expert. And
Mhm.
when you were filming an individual session, the other person had to leave. So
Yeah.
she stopped by to tell me that she was going to dinner somewhere, whatever. And then yeah, she mentioned to me, and I could tell she was a little nervous, but she mentioned to me that she received a text from a guy that told her that he and I was having an affair for a minute, and that he
Mhm.
wanted her to know, whatever. And she didn't really. There wasn't much detail, and I mean, honestly, I was just like, that is a zillion percent not true. And I think I'm not saying. I'm sure Christina regrets handling the situation that way.
Yeah.
Like, but I think like my assessment of it was, I think she was frustrated that I was clearly like not into her, not attracted to her. And once
Yeah.
again, it's not so much I wasn't physically attracted. Even if we had all these differences and she was a 10 out of 10, I not saying I've been on dates with 10 out of 10s, but I've been on plenty of dates where
Yeah.
the girl was intimidatingly attractive, and then I show
Mhm.
up and I'm like, she's terrible, for like whatever, whatever,
Yeah.
either we have different viewpoints or,
Mhm.
or just differences, or they're boring, whatever. But I think she was just struggling with the fact that like there was no physical like attraction or
Yeah.
chemistry there, and I think it was just like a last ditch effort to try to uh I don't know, maybe get me to admit that
Yeah.
I don't know if that if
No.
and I'm
It,
not saying that it's clearly not the right way to handle this situation, but I
mhm.
think she was just taking like an aggressive strategy. And yeah, no, and the next day I asked I asked for to see the text messages, and
Yeah.
I asked her to send them to me, and yeah, I mean, just I never got them. So I think it was just a desperate kind of effort to,
Reaction.
yeah,
Yeah. And then, I mean, if anyone out there is listening and doesn't watch the show, I mean, I will say Christina was apologetic at the
yeah, no,
reunion.
she was super
And,
apologetic.
she, that was cleared. And on the flip side, we always get on some of the guys who don't show affection. And Henry was just not there. So she didn't get affection and
Yeah,
she got
and
nothing. And
and she got, yeah. And once again, I'm not. She did not handle it the right way. I'm
yeah.
not. I'm not saying
Hmm.
she did. And she was very apologetic. She was very upset about it. But yeah, once again, we were only supposed to be living together 8 weeks.
Yeah.
It turned into 16 weeks. This
Yeah.
was right at the end. I mean,
Yeah.
that was right at the end. Like decision day was, I mean, definitely less than a week and a half away at that point.
Hmm.
So I think she was just like, man, this guy's not giving me anything. I don't know why. I'm sure. I mean, it was really difficult for her, clearly, as it would be for any girl who would probably question like, why is he unattracted to me? Like
Yeah.
what is it? Whatever. And I think it was just like a bad, attempt at maybe trying to accuse, find a reason why,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And she was really apologetic. I don't, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of regrets all the way around.
Yeah. Looking back or thinking back to when you guys met with the experts on decision day, were you a little frustrated with how they reacted to the text message saga? Because for me, again, things could have been edited out. They talked about like it was so casual, but at the time I thought, it's a big deal to just come right out and say, oh, someone's gay, and just even if they were, it would be in some way. Are you outing that? I don't know. It was
Yeah,
just they were so casual about it, and I just wondered from your point of view, maybe there's stuff we didn't see.
no,
Did you feel any type of way?
there was stuff y'all didn't see.
Okay.
Now, if you want to, you definitely have issue with the editing for them making it seem
Yeah.
like the schedule. I mean, that conversation with the experts, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not going to say it was 2 hours long, but it was definitely
It
an
was
hour.
long.
It was
Okay. I'm glad.
absolutely an hour long, and that was like the bulk of the conversation.
Okay.
And so yeah, there was definitely stuff that just wasn't shown. But I do agree that probably poor judgment on their part to make it seem like they
Okay.
like their reaction to it was so.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I'm glad that they took it seriously. But while we're on the subject of experts, who was your favorite expert?
I'll say this is such a cop out answer. I liked them all. I people were so intimidated by Dr. Pepper, but I think I because she comes off as people say I come off as dry, and when I watch the show, I could see why people say that. So I think that she and I just spoke a similar language in that regard.
Language.
I loved Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Esther Cal, super cool guy.
Yeah.
Uh, unfortunately for him, he's a Titans fan, but but no, cool guy. I mean,
Yeah.
would just seemed like really genuine. And if I had to pick, I'd probably say Dr. Viviana. And I really just say that because I guess it'd be like she was just I've hung out with her. Like she's come to New Orleans a couple times,
Yeah.
and we've all hung out like with
Mhm.
Amani and stuff. So I'll just give her the edge because like I've hung out with her outside of the show a couple times. But no. I mean, I honestly, I really, I liked all of them. They just all brought a little something different to the table, you know.
Mhm. Okay. You know that recap you guys do for Decision Day where you're talking about the entirety of your, oh, Christina was fine. She had her cons and her pros. How do they make you guys do that? Do you write a script and they fit it in, or they tell you what to say, or how does that work?
Uh, yes. Yeah. So it's a little mix of both. So they kind of tell you to write something up or to list some things that you really enjoyed,
Hmm.
and honestly, they kind of edit it in a way for it to just flow better.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, they definitely ask you for like some things that you enjoy about your partner and like some good memories you had, some pros, some cons,
Okay.
but they write it up in a way for like how they say it on screen or how we say it on
Yeah.
screen is not necessarily how I wrote it down.
Okay. Are you sitting like just in your confessional, or is there a recording? Like, how do you read it out?
Oh, that's if I'm remembering correctly, they just give it to you on a piece of paper. Yeah.
And you just read it out.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if I'm remembering, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. At the reunion, you mentioned, I think that was the first time. I didn't realize at the time that was the first time that you spoke about Christina's relationship before the wedding.
Yeah.
Was that really the first time you had mentioned it to her, or you didn't mention it the entire time that somebody had told you at the wedding? The entire
Yeah.
time you were together?
So, okay. So, yes and no. We talked about, so that was like earlier when you had mentioned it. That's why I was a
Mhm.
little confused. So, at the wedding, she talked about it, and then we talked about like the gist of the relationship. But I'm really not going to get too far into the details on there.
Okay. That's fair.
There was just a lot of things that kind of came back
Yeah.
to me, I'll say. And then, and I'll be honest, like, so we were all hanging out, and then she mentioned it. Uh,
Okay.
that was during COVID.
Okay.
She mentioned it, and then it kind of confirmed a lot of what I heard.
The things you
Yeah.
do you regret mentioning it at the
Oh,
reunion?
yeah.
Okay.
This isn't even an exaggeration. I think about it like all the time. Yeah. No.
Okay.
I Yeah, I definitely
Okay.
regret. I regret how I brought it up, and obviously, I
Okay.
regret. Like, if I could go back, I would have talked about it in person with her a lot more. Just and yeah, I was just like, they just gas you up going into the reunion, and I was just like so aggravated. And then, yeah, no, it's a regret for sure.
When you say they gas you up, what do you mean?
They just leading up to the reunion, they uh specifically the executive, the EP. So
Yeah.
they get they get a different EP to work on a reunion. It's not
Okay.
like the same EP of the show, if that if
Okay. Why? Okay.
and yeah, and no, and I mean, they call you a bunch, from
Mhm.
everything about what you're going to wear to make sure that colors aren't clashing,
Clash. Okay.
and they just ask you like if there's anything you want to talk about like constantly, or anything you want to say, anything you want to get off your chest. And I
Mhm.
remember they called me up and just said some things, and
Yeah.
yeah, they just gash you up.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
You fell for their
I
game.
fell for it, and I did, no, and I just, yeah, I hate that. I,
Okay. We live and we learn.
I hate that I did
So,
that.
is there anything that you read about yourself during your time on the show that really bothered you?
Yeah, I mean, do you have another hour to talk, or
Here we
yeah,
go, top two.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah, it. So I think it's safe to say, as I'm sure others have told you, that I mean, it's just a weird experience.
Yeah.
Okay, like no
Mhm.
matter how much you mentally prepare, and then everyone gets different like feedback, right? But I had no idea what mine was going to be. But yeah, no, I mean, they just made it seem like I was a lot more awkward than I think I was. Like I
Yeah.
didn't appreciate the little awkward music playing at times.
Mhm.
They totally cut out a lot of my responses. They didn't show any of my sense of humor. I mean, like towards the
Yeah.
end, they did a little bit, and I know that I'm really dry, but they just didn't show. And honestly, they didn't even show. I mean, like when I watched it, I was like, Christina and I filmed so many things together. I remember specifically we were at this sandbar in Mexico where we had a great conversation. Like they didn't show a second of it. They
Yeah.
didn't even show her asking questions and it looking like I was silent after. I mean, they were
Yeah.
just there were good conversations that we had that they didn't show. There was parts of my personality that they didn't show. But yeah, but to answer your question, yeah, there was just a lot of talk about me being awkward, and yeah, I just think they made me seem like I was scared of my own shadow.
I'm not listen, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna lie. And it's like the more I talk to you guys, I was talking to my co-host the other day, and I'm like being aware of this editing because now I can pick up like the cutouts, the voiceovers, and all that stuff. When I was watching you, Henry, I'm like, why did this man sign up for this show? Because they
yeah,
gave us a lot of awkward silences. I'm like, he doesn't
yeah,
even want to talk. So why is he here? So
and yeah, no, no, and once again, I'm not sitting here saying, especially early on, I'm not
Mhm.
sitting here saying that the conversation between Christina and I was like flowing,
Mhm.
but it was certainly more. I mean, they would they would show her ask a question and then me like eating, and I was
Yes.
just like, oh, okay, so they're not going to show like anything I said. And when I really 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 learned that that was the route that it was going, well, it was early on, but it was the brunch with her family. The brunch with
Mhm.
her family was great. It was very
Mhm.
pleasant. The conversation was very back and forth, and
Mhm.
it was. I mean, it was funny. Her family was great. Her mom, her
Yeah.
aunt, her grandma, etc. And then when I watched it, they did the same thing. They showed her family asking a question, and they showed me like taking a bite of food. And I said, "Oh, okay. So this is just how it's gonna be, you know."
Oh, okay. We'll start wrapping things up. What was your favorite and worst moments of filming? Well, of the season, just in general, I guess. It could be off camera too, but what was your favorite and your worst moment?
Uh, Favorite moments. So in general, I always enjoyed filming like with the group. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, it's a little easier because
Mhm.
I don't have to look as many people in the eyes or carry the conversation. But yeah, but filming with the group was usually fun, especially when it was just the guys. I'll say with Christina specifically, us like I remember like we went to a driving range like to
Okay.
hit the
Mhm.
golf ball, and
Mhm.
yeah, that was a good time. And like and in Mexico at the honeymoon,
Okay.
there were some good times in Mexico. Least favorites, I guess I'll just say the reunion. You know.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. And you mentioned the group hanging out and filming. You know, there's a lot more hanging out now on maps, but I think you've answered the question I was going to ask. It's better for you. It's just easier for you to film. You know, when you're in the group comes in. I guess that works when you are in a marriage where it's not quite working. It's kind of like a reprieve, right? When you're with the group.
Yeah, I mean, no, and don't get me wrong. I mean, it's also a struggle too because I mean, and I'm sure other people have said this. I mean, you can't help but compare yourself to other couples.
Hmm.
So it is, don't get me wrong. It's uncomfortable in that
Yeah.
sense, especially when Woody and Amani seemed like the perfect couple ever, and then so
Yeah.
did at that time Bennett and Amelia. And but yeah, so I mean, it is uncomfortable in that sense. But as far as just hanging out and stuff, yeah, it's a little easier because all the attention isn't on you.
Yeah. Who do you hang out with in the group and in the maths universe in general? Who are you cool with?
From our season, I I see Woody the most, mostly because he goes to a lot of the same events that like
Okay.
I go to.
Okay.
But I see Woody. I love Woody. Woody and
Yeah.
Amani. Let me just shout them out one more time. What you see
Yeah.
is what they are. Like it's
Yeah.
just they're just great together. And
Yeah.
I saw him not too long ago. I was like, "Do you just sit back and think this is crazy? Y'all have two kids?" And
Yes.
he goes, "Man, it's like I'm just so thankful." So big shout out to them. Woody and Amani are great. I with Bennett. So I don't really hang with Bennett solo, but he is in theater.
Yeah.
He's in a big theater group or in a theater group here,
Mhm.
and he like writes and directs plays and acts in them. And whenever he has a play, the girlfriend and I will like always go check it out. So he and I will always catch up whenever we go watch his play. But
Okay.
yeah, real quick, Ryan from the Houston season, talk to him a decent bit and hang out whenever he comes. I used to value our friendship, but it seems like he hangs out or talks to everybody who's ever been on a reality television show.
I was
So,
you
yeah,
said it. I was not gonna I was about
yeah,
to say that. Like Ryan's friends with everybody.
yeah. So he hangs out with everybody. But but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
chit chat with a lot of people, like Vincent and Ben, and
Okay.
yeah, I met Eric a couple of times. Yeah, I mean, there's a number of people. Kristen uh, from
Mhm.
uh,
San Diego.
yeah, from San
She was
Diego.
my last guest. Yeah.
Yeah, but like we were on set. So yeah, there's a handful of people that I mean, they're like it's a fraternity of sorts. So
Yeah.
everybody kind of
Yeah.
DMs each other and messages each other. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. Would
yeah,
you do reality TV again?
yeah. I wouldn't. It would just depend on what. I wouldn't. Yeah, I would do reality TV again. I don't know if I would really marry a stranger.
Yeah.
Maybe in a like if it was like if I was single, obviously. If it was
Yes.
like a dating situation, like a matchup situation, I would do something like that. Or yeah, reality TV in general. Just depending on something like Traders. I could do that.
Listen, I am on the hunt because I want someone from MAFS to be on trade. I don't know why they're not in the conversation. We've never had a MAFS person on there.
So, I watched Traders by what network is Traders on?
Peacock.
Okay, okay. So you just said
So
something. So I think part of the issue is, and I could be wrong on this, but I
yeah.
think Traders gets people from like the NBC network or the sister networks. Do they not?
No, they get it from
No, because they get
everybody.
some Bravo people, don't they?
Yeah, they get Bravo people. They
Okay,
have the
okay,
highest number of people. But we think like CT, that's Viacom, that's CBS, that's
okay,
MTV. They get
okay.
people from there, and they get people from the British Parliament, and they get people from
Yeah, yeah, no,
random
no,
places.
no. And
So
they had the boxer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
yeah,
that was on there for a hot second. Yeah, no, no. I'm
yeah.
completely on that. But I thought that there was some type
Mm,
of thread that connected them all. But I don't know. Now that Married at First Sight is going to
you're going to
Peacock,
pick up. Yeah,
maybe it'll incentivize them to get someone from there to help kind of promote it.
yeah.
But I know. I mean, I'm not going to bother Trishelle with that. But if Trishelle wanted to put a word in for me, I'd happily go.
Do you know what I think you'll be good at, Henry? Is the floor. I don't know if you've ever heard about it,
What is it
but
called? The floor?
the floor, yes. It's
Uh,
not, it's a game show kind of, but Rob Lowe hosts it, and you pick something that you're really, really good at and you're subject matter expert on, and then they come you and they quiz you on it. Just look it up. It's just fun for me. Like, let's say mine would be reality TV, and then you just put pictures up there, and then you have to start naming it within seconds of getting it out. And I just think it'll
oh,
be fun. You'd be like football or beer or something, food. That would be your expert, and then you'll be on there. And they get people from reality shows. They have someone from The Bachelor or something on there. I think you'd be good on that. So if you have an agent, tell them to try and get you on there, and then I'll get my 10% from you if you make it on.
okay. Yeah, I've not heard of it. I'm good.
Yeah,
I legit just wrote it down. I will also say I would be totally game for The Circle, which is on
in
Netflix.
Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Which
canceled for now. I'm so
it's
sad.
canceled. The Circle got
Well,
canceled.
it wasn't renewed, and they haven't said anything, and they've announced their new slate. So I think it is canceled, and I'm so
Okay.
sad. Yeah,
They,
you'd be good at that
yeah.
too.
In defense of that, it honestly lasted longer than I thought it was going to last.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if The Circle was still around, that was something like I would have been game for. But yeah, I would
Okay.
do that. It would just depend on the scope of it.
Okay.
This
All right. Well, this was fun, Henry. But before I completely sign out, is there any last words that you want to share? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to clear up before we wrap this up?
uh no, I guess as you've learned, I actually can put two or three sentences together, back to back to back. And if you don't follow me on Instagram,
Yeah.
I don't really do a lot of like yeah, yeah, it's just me kind of hanging out in the
Your code is Henry 20.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah, it's just
kidding.
all right. It's just some random food reviews, and
Yeah.
just kind of me hanging out. So, but if you want to follow me, H Rodriguez IV, or you could just search my name. Go follow me on there.
Yeah. And I'll tag him when he comes in here in case you're looking for him. But thank you so much, Henry. This was so much fun. And you guys know where to find me. It is also called MAFS on Blue Sky, on Threads, on Twitter, on Instagram. Please give me a 5-star rating if you're so inclined, and subscribe so you don't miss out on this. And until the next episode, guys, bye.